Heal with us.
Welcome to Heal with Us, where we aim to inspire, strengthen, and empower. Now let's begin to heal. Hey y'all, I'm Toya, and I'll be investigating the business of everyday people like you and I. That's Dr. Nikkisha. She'll be checking in on your heart. And this is Tam. She'll be enlightening you with fun facts you didn't even know you needed. She's just nerdy like that. Now that you met us, let's get in your business. All right, so on today's episode, we want to shed some light on mental health awareness and some of the stigmas that are in the minority community. We want to kind of talk about getting help, knowing the signs, and not being afraid to reach out for help. What about you, Tam?
Yeah, so once we do get to my segment, I will kind of piggyback off of the couple of points that you pointed, like, knowing the signs, when to get help. And so I'll get into a little bit more of that. But I do agree that mental health awareness in the community is a stigma, and I don't know why. And I think it, more laws and congressmen and just lawmakers need to create more bills and just talk about it more and put it up to the forefront, because it's a big thing. And I think especially since the pandemic, there are a lot of those out there suffering that need help.
Mm-hmm.
What say you, Doc?
So I definitely agree. I'm noticing that a lot of mentally ill people are also homeless, which is a whole nother dynamic, with the problem. And I feel like you, Tamara, like there needs to be more laws and more bills and just more systems and programs out there protecting the mentally ill. And I also find it interesting that people, even today, are still been questioning if there's a such thing as mental illness. It's almost like, it's you normalize your stress. And I'm not just talking about everyday stress. I'm talking about stress that leads to depression, anxiety, and all the disorders that are now becoming so prominent. Like people are still, kind of brushing it to the side, and it's not something we can handle on our own, And I can recall, I was at a speaking event and I shared my story of, just some things I was going through and how I reached out to a therapist and how it just changed so much of just how to, go through and deal with, certain issues successfully. And not on my own. And this older woman, that's a beautiful African American woman, about 80 years old, and she was like, maybe 70, I don't know, but either way, she just thanked me, because she was like, growing up, it was always kind of taboo. Like, you don't talk about mental illness, you don't claim to have mental illness, you just deal with your stuff. So it was very freeing for her to hear someone, especially of African American origin, sharing that, I have a therapist, and I thank God for her, and that's something too with Christians. There's a place for our Bible. God is a God of, all. I believe God can heal in many ways, but he also uses medicine and people and therapy. So we don't have to some people even use that as a crutch or an excuse to not seek other help. So, I think there's just so much to it, and I think this conversation is so necessary.
I agree, Doc. Thank you for that. So, do you have anything to add?
So I can definitely share my personal story. I dealt with postpartum depression, with my last child. So I think until you personally go through it, you don't really understand it, or unless you've been around somebody and you've seen the struggle that they go through, you don't really understand it until you've seen it for yourself. So I can see how it's hard for some people to understand, like, no, this is real. This is really a brain imbalance. It's nothing the person is doing or the person can control. So I think for me, I just knew I felt like I wasn't really myself. And I didn't get help. I didn't go get help. The doctor would ask all the questions and you just lie and say, nope, everything is fine. Baby is doing great, whatever. So it spiraled. So it got to the point where I would be visiting my sister and would just start crying for no reason, no apparent reason. Didn't know why I was crying. Didn't feel sad, but was just crying out of nowhere. And I'd be like, well, okay, I gotta go. And I think it went on for like a week. And I knew when the crying spell was going to start because I could feel it. And I would just be like, oh, well, it's happening again. Let me go. It took for somebody, outside to say, you know, that's not normal, right? Mm-hmm. You should be able to feel like you're sad and then cry, not just, you're just crying, for no reason. So I finally went back, and I was like, well, this is happening, but, I just kind of leave. So, and it goes away when I leave and just kind of isolate myself. And that's when they were like, okay, so I need you to be honest with answering the questions. Mm-hmm. And I almost checked all the boxes, but I had to see a therapist. I did have to go on antidepressants for a little while. And the only way that I could go off of them was to be actively seeing a therapist. Because if you just kind of cut them out, it can mess up your brain also. So you have to kind of get weaned off and in order for you to stop taking those as well. So it took me about a year from the point of me knowing something was happening to the point that I was off of the antidepressants. But I still had to see my psychologist for about 2 years after that to kind of continue, healing and making sure my brain was okay. Mm-hmm. But there was other underlying issues that happened. So, not only was it that, but I was diagnosed with PTSD also. So it was something else underlying that kind of caused the postpartum depression. Okay. But, I definitely recommend getting help, professional help. Families, it's good to have somebody in your corner and they mean well, but they don't always know what to do or the proper thing to do to help you. So it's really a good idea to get professional help.
So here over in the Nurse Corner, I like to give different statistics and information. So I want to share.
Okay.
So first I want to start by saying May is the month for mental health awareness. So during the month of May, just remember that the month of May is the month for mental health awareness. So in the U.S., nearly 1 in 5 adults have mental illness or mental health conditions. So that kind of equates to about 52 million people. If you think about it, if you look at that statistic in an overall type of statistics, that's about 52 million people. Just in the U.S., mm-hmm. not globally. Mm-hmm. So that's a big population of people. Mental health is just not about having or not having mental illness, but it's about your overall well-being from life to work and family. Mm-hmm. So, it's not just, it's about the health of your mind and your thought process. So since the pandemic, I feel like there are a lot of people out there that are struggling to achieve and maintain a healthy mental health. Mm-hmm. Just looking at how we had to isolate, watching the number of people succumb to the pandemic and the illness and what was going on and the not knowing mm-hmm. and the uncertainty, okay, they're telling us to do this and stay distant and wash your hands, but is it really working? To a plethora of things that just made people just anxious and just all over the place. And I don't think that since that time, people have really healed from that. And I don't think that they probably ever will if you lived in that time frame of when this happened. I know back in the 1920s, there was another kind of pandemic. It was called the Spanish flu that did the same, took the same course as COVID. And a lot of people succumbed to it as well. So it's kind of like every so many centuries that you have this epidemic or pandemic that hits. And it's like, okay, well, who's taking care of the mental health of people that kind of survived that? So I think we still have that lingering effects of it. And it makes you wonder, are people seeking help to get help with that and dealing with the circumstances that they experienced with that? If we were to continue to bring awareness to mental health to the forefront, and I feel like this would lead to conversation about how to care for your mental health and it not be a stigma. So I believe there are many out there that are suffering in silence because of the non-existent conversations about mental health and mental illness. So that kind of equates, because you said that you would be asked all the right questions, but you wouldn't be honest about it. And then when you have these crying out episodes, you would just kind of leave and they would dissipate. So how can mental health awareness help in that circumstance, do you think?
I think I had no clue what, I heard the word postpartum depression before, but I really didn't know what it meant. I thought it meant like people that hurt their baby or don't want to deal with their baby, or, and mine was nothing like that. It was just, I just would just cry out of nowhere and not want to be around people. So I think just not knowing what the actual signs were, like all of them, just having an idea, that kind of held me back from even knowing something was wrong.
So Doc, how can mental health awareness help the community in your opinion?
I think just allowing people to know what signs to look for, especially amongst children, because some people have this unrealistic belief that children can't experience type of illnesses and emotions, and they can. So I think number one is knowing the signs, and then also knowing how to handle it, because we're not all capable of addressing the things that come along with mental illness, and we need to not try to be a professional. So I think knowing your place, knowing what to do and who to reach out to is very crucial. So mental health awareness will definitely allow people to kind of create the bridge that's needed to get people the help they need and resources they need. Even for parents who have children or that are suffering from mental illness, they may not know where to start. Mental health awareness will kind of close a lot of those gaps.
And I agree with you, Doc, and I'm glad that you brought up some of the benefits. So I'm going to give you 4 additional, including what the doc said, benefits of mental health awareness. And just like the doc said, my first tip or benefit is help people understand their symptoms, like help them feel less alone, and also make it easier to find treatment. At times there's so much difficulty in finding a finite diagnosis and or treatment as it pertains to mental health conditions. So I think if there was more resources readily available, like if just for an example, like area commercials would be more on TV, since everyone is in front of a screen. And it doesn't have to be a screen, it could be a tablet. If you're watching YouTube and they have the little ads, if there could be more awareness brought that way, I think that will also help too. The second point that I have, or benefit, is start a conversation. Like, talk about how very therapeutic, like you just stated. If you see someone that's having some issues, talk to them about how therapeutic it was for you. Try not to put them in a box along with you, because your situation is probably different than theirs, but just really express how therapeutic it is to start that conversation and just talk about it. You don't even have to talk about it, what's exactly bothering you, but just talking will lead and open that box to get whatever it is out, to help you heal, Seeking and speaking with a licensed mental health profession can also help with, getting rid of that stigma of, well, I can't really talk to a sibling, or I can't really talk to a friend, or someone that I know. Why? Because they think they're going to be judged. There's this cloud that hangs over the mental health or mental condition about, oh, people are going to start treating me different, or people are going to look at me different. Or a big thing now is the employment space. They feel like, wow, if my employer finds out, will I lose my job? So, once you do start speaking to a professional, get that rapport and build that rapport so that you can feel safe enough to talk about it. But even if you just don't want to talk about it right away with that professional, just start a conversation. Sometimes just talking will help you feel better. My third point or benefit is better education. It's very important for employers, like I said, family members and loved ones, to understand the effect that mental health has on daily life. That's like the biggest thing, especially with family members. It's very important and I think Doc spoke on that, is to not belittle or push aside when someone does come out and verbally say, hey, I think I may be depressed, or if you notice the signs of them acting a little different, even if you can't put your finger on it, because, I'm not a trained professional in psychological differences, to say, hey, this person, they wore that shirt 3 times in a row, so they're depressed. I don't have that training to say that, but just kind of better educate yourself, kind of, look on certain websites, or just, get some information to help that loved one, that friend, or that coworker. If you see their mood or their movements change, just to, kind of have a conversation with them. Also, promote healthy mental health. It's possible to have mental health conditions and be mentally well. However, the absence of mental health condition does not ensure healthy mental health. That right there is a very poignant statement, because just because you're absent of a mental health condition doesn't mean that you're healthy in your mindset. It does not mean that. So I think, for an example, a big example, your work, you're overwhelmed at work, and I know a lot of employers now are pushing that mental health day. If you feel like mentally that day you just can't be there 120%, take that mental health day. I know I was speaking with a coworker last week, and she was telling me that her previous boss that was a thing. She implemented once a month that every employee, no matter, not all at the same time, but once a month you take a mental health day. And she said, if you did not take that mental health day, she will call you in the office and say, hey, look, I noticed that you haven't taken your day yet. Let's sit down and we're going to schedule this so I know that you're doing it. So I think that employers should also implement that. Some employees give you a free floating day or something like that, but they really need to pay more attention to their employees' mental health. I know some employers have what they call an EAP type of setup to help their employees that are having any mental crisis or mental anything going on, that they have a set of counselors or psychiatrists or whomever to meet with them and discuss it, and to help them through it. It's a limited time, but at least it's opening the door and getting them to get into that stride of being okay to speak with someone. So I also have 3 tips to promote mental health awareness. So I do have a question first. How can people who are not professional clinicians make a difference in promoting mental health awareness?
I think just listening, like asking, "Are you okay?" Listening, or if someone's saying they're okay and you don't think they are, you can say, "Well, I'm noticing, a change. Are you sure you're okay?" Like, or is there anything I can do? Even if you don't want to say, "Are you okay?" Is it something I can do to help you out? Like, just talking and listening, I think. But listening is like the most important.
Yeah, that's good. What say you, Doc? You need me to repeat the question?
I agree with Toya, and I also think maybe sometimes helping the person maybe get out of an element that may be causing them, that mental anguish or stress or whatever have it. Because sometimes when you're in the midst of it, you can't think clearly, can't see it. So just like I remember Toya mentioned one time when she was going through a lot, and someone actually took her out the house, and just that little small act kind of just gave her a chance to refresh and regroup. I think that's so crucial because sometimes you don't see it. You're getting buried by it, and it takes somebody to kind of take your hand and pull you out, whether it's physically or emotional support. And it's just so crucial to have somebody else's eyes. When somebody else is taking that time to really just say, "Listen, something is not right," because we can normalize our dysfunction and normalize our pain because it becomes so much a part of us. So yeah, I think it's very important to have someone else kind of like there supporting, but also, like I said before, recognizing your place. Like you can encourage someone, you can give someone strength by showing them that you see them, you can be hope to others. But realize there's a limitation to that. That person, depending on severity, will probably need, additional help. And just kind of encourage them to get to that place is just as important as just showing up.
I agree. And like I said, I have 3 tips that I'm going to discuss, but I want to piggyback off of the doc, and I want to say kindness. I feel as though that has fallen along the wayside, and part of me feels like life has just got so hard and life is just lifing. I feel like nobody really has control over life. It's just doing its own thing. And I feel like kindness has it ceased to exist anymore. And I feel like that's what people need now is more kindness. Just saying hello to someone or just asking them how they feel or even giving a compliment. It could be, something that totally just, out of the blue, "Hi, Toya, I like your shirt today. That's really nice." That could brighten someone's day. That could, change their thought process. They could be having just a dark day. And by you showing one random act of kindness can pull that person up by their bootstraps. I mean, you never know. And also to be mindfulness. You never know what a person is going through. I feel like everybody goes through something. And just being mindful and stepping outside of yourself to realize that people go through things and everybody is been through, and everyone, I feel like, is healing from something. And just practicing a little bit of mindfulness, I think would also help as well. But my 3 tips to promote mental health awareness. 1, speak up for yourself. Speak up for yourself. And I don't know if the doc touched on that, but, really speak up for yourself. If another example, and I'm sorry I keep using work as an example, but say your supervisor, whatever, comes to you with this big project and it's just really, really big. You need to speak up for yourself and say, "Hey, I appreciate you coming to me and thinking that I have the ability and the talent and, the wherewithal to get this done. However, I need to be honest and say mentally, I'm just in a space where I don't think I need to take the lead on this project. I will help or, join the group, but, I just can't take the lead on it." And I know you're probably looking at it like, well, if I take the lead, there may be a bonus for me or there may be, but when you're honest for yourself and speak up, and you don't even have to get into the mental or why the mental is not there, but you're speaking up for yourself to know that, or to say silently that my mental health is more important than a promotion or recognition or leading a team on a big project. So speak up for yourself. 2, learn more about mental health. And I think that's more like on the family and friends realm of it. If a family member or a friend does come to you with a diagnosis that they finally got professionally diagnosed with, say it's bipolar or schizophrenic, I feel like it's that friend or that support system or the family really needs to do their research on that particular mental health condition, so you can know the signs of when they're having a moment, or know what to do if, or who to reach out to if that whatever their experience is beyond a non-professional person. So, do your research and learn more about, and that's only if they come to you with it. Don't try to treat them yourself or diagnose them yourself. But if you know, and everyone knows, just learn more about it. Learn more about the subject. And my last point is talk to a professional. I mean, like I said, you don't have to go in there and say, oh my God, when I was 5, I saw this person get brutally beaten and I grew up in poverty and, I was just starved as a child. And I mean, no, you don't have to go in there and hit them. A lot of the times a person that's going through something mental, they have to feel comfortable. They have to feel safe. And also they have to, get that feeling of, okay, this person really cares. So talk to a professional. It's okay. Professionals are trained to not be biased and not, help you tear down those walls and layers of stigma to let you know that it's okay. It's not like a deformity, but it's just that your brain is wired different, or the wiring in your brain is short circuiting. Like it's just not firing correctly, and it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So I want to give a couple of resources for those who need to reach out, or those who know someone that needs to reach out for help. And one of those is the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness Hotline. The acronym for that is NAMI, and that's National Alliance on Mental Health. The hotline number is 1-800-950-NAMI, or you can text NAMI to 741471. Also, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline or Lifeline, that number is 1-800-237-8455, or you can just dial 988. I have another resource for you, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. That's 1-800-662-HELP. And I hope that, if you ever have to use those resources, or anyone that may need those resources, that they are a tool for you and that they can provide help for you. We will also add that information in the YouTube description, as well as the podcast information box. So just check the information box in the YouTube as well as the podcast for those resources, numbers, and information. So that's all I have.
Tamara, I just want to, as we close out, I did want to commend you for pointing out the power of this kindness. I don't know if y'all remember, I'm sure y'all remember the event years ago with the school shooting in Columbine. I remember watching like an interview or something where the lady saying that pretty much he remembered one of the shooters like crossing her path and like nothing. And the day of the shooting, he saw her and pretty much told her to run, like you better just leave. So, and I mean, you don't think that being kind is going to be that significant to someone, but you just never know what people are going through. So, the smallest gesture can make a world of difference for you and that other person. Thank you for pointing that out.
Sure, no problem. And I've had several people that come up to me, being in a leadership role at work, I tend to invest in, I used to invest in my employees to make sure that mentally they're okay. Like, it's not about getting an assignment turned in or making sure that, your duties are being done. I mean, that's what you're getting paid for. But I also took it upon myself to go the extra mile to make sure during my one-on-ones with my employees, I made sure that, I asked them, is everything okay? Like, how are you feeling? Everything okay? Are you having any, mental struggles, pertaining to work? And if it's a non-work thing, if you want to talk about it, this is a safe space. And I always make sure that I let them know my door is always open. I'm never too busy. Even if I'm on a phone call, if you send me an email, I will make sure I wrap up, but I am there. And if I can't give you, and I feel like if my words or encouragement is beyond what you need, I have the resources, or I will point you in a direction of where you can get help. But kindness, it goes a long way. It goes a really long way. So.
Thank you for joining us for another episode. I just want to end by saying not to be afraid to reach out for help. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to get help. You do not have to suffer. And no one chooses to be in a place where their mental health is unstable. You're not choosing to do it. It's nothing you did to yourself. So just know that there's always somebody there to support you. It might not be friends or family, but there's somebody in a professional setting that can help you, like some of the resources that Tam pointed out. If you had a broken bone, somebody would be like there to help. It's the same thing. Like, you can't control it. But I just want you to know that you are very important and God made you unique. Thank you again for joining us.
And remember, healing is a process. Don't take it one day at a time.
And remember, we're available across all social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, podcast, all the things. If you want to email us at herewithus3@gmail.com, questions, episode ideas, or even if you just want to reach out and ask us a question pertaining to mental health awareness. We're available. We're here. Thank you for all the support thus far, and here with us.
You with us.
In your business.